Good afternoon. My name is Aaron Marble. I serve as the president of the Interdenominational Ministers Fellowship and the proud pastor of the Jefferson Street Missionary Baptist Church. I want to take the time to thank each and every one of you for your presence here today. I would like to thank the media for being here to make sure that this moment is captured and that it is sent out to the broader community. And I also would like to thank this host and cadre of leaders, citizens from across our county who are concerned about the potential injustices that are going on within our community. In a few days, we will be celebrating the Juneteenth holiday. It is a holiday that hallmarks and celebrates slaves in Galveston, Texas, who were notified of the Emancipation Proclamation. That while parts of the country was already free, slaves in Galveston, Texas had not yet received the news of liberation. Freedom is a slippery concept. And if the allegations that we have been presented with are true, if it is the case that our police department conspired with our state government to undo and undermine the will of the citizens of Nashville, freedom has not been experienced. Amen. The very entity that is meant to protect and serve undermined the elected will of the citizens of Nashville. Yes. If that be the case, we have work to do. Yes. And so we have gathered today to call those powers to be to the table to say, one, we need swift and thorough investigation. Yes. That those who have been hired to investigate this issue ought to do so with fidelity, ought to do so with clarity, ought to do so with transparency. Yes. And we need those results expeditiously. We also come to ensure that the CRB and its executive director, Jill Fitchard, are supported by our community. Yes. We have already seen how our state has worked to undermine their power, and it seems that our city leaders have been silently standing by, allowing it to happen. But as you see with this group behind me, community leaders are not comfortable with what's going on. Right. We are calling truth to power and saying that there must be a change. We also would like our mayor and the administration and city leaders to work expeditiously to ensure that an MOU is reached, that the CRB can do its work and do it well. Please welcome now Timothy Hughes, who is going to represent the NAACP and the National Action Network.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Timothy Hughes. I'm here on behalf of a number of different coalition partners, but I want to speak specifically to my role as First Vice President of the NAACP Nashville branch and as Political Action Chair for the Middle Tennessee National Action Network. Thank you for our leadership at the NAACP, Jonathan Williamson, who serves as our president, and our president of the National Action Network, President Cheryl Huff. My remarks will be brief. As I'm sure many of you have noted in the remarks that were received in notes and letters that have been sent out from our organizations and from our coalition partners, there's a tremendous amount of concern about where we are as a city and as a community here in Nashville. But I want to center us just a moment in the occasion in which we are here. And part of the reason that we have come here to this moment has a lot to do with the fact that we are remembering and honoring the life and legacy of one who just transitioned to the great mighty cloud of witnesses, Reverend James Lawson, who created the infrastructure and in many ways trained those leaders who were calling for accountability and transparency in the civil rights movement in the 1960s. Honoring that legacy and honoring that moment is part of the reason why we are here today. I want to connect just a couple of those through lines to this particular moment, and then I will yield the remainder of my time. We are here in part because of the luminaries like James Lawson and John Lewis and Diane Nash and Rosa Parks and so many others who made contributions to the life and legacy of civil rights, defending in their day the right for all people to be seen as human beings. We are also here in this moment demanding transparency and accountability from those who are entrusted with the power to protect and serve our community. And we are doing so because we do not forget the reasons why we are here. We do not forget the shoes and the shoulders on which we stand and in which we walk and march and continue to fight for justice. And so it is important that we understand the historic connection to why it is that Nashville has fought for some 50 years to demand accountability for law enforcement and demand transparency from this process. I want to utter the names of some of those folks who have fought and died in this process. I want to remember and acknowledge the life and legacy of Jacquees Clemens. I want to remember and honor the life and legacy of Daniel Hambrick. I want to remember the so many who have fought for this moment of transparency and accountability, who created the need and saw the need for us to step up, and for the 200,000 individuals who voted in favor of the creation of the Metro Nashville Community Oversight Board and helped to make that possible in 2018. I want to say thank you, because we do not forget. We have not forgotten what has gotten us to this moment, and we will not forget the way forward. And so as we demand accountability from law enforcement and from the Metro agencies who are entrusted with the power and the responsibility to make sure that this process is transparent and accountable, I want to speak specifically to the mayor, Mayor Freddie O'Connell, who ran to bring the city of Nashville together. Mr. O'Connell, you have a responsibility.
That's right.
You have a responsibility to the community that voted in favor of your election, but also the 200,000 individuals nearly who voted in favor of the creation of the Community Oversight Board to do what is necessary in this moment.
Yes.
We speak with a measure of authority from the community that has entrusted us with responsibility. And so it is our duty to stand here together and to collectively demand that there be accountability in this process. And with that, I'll yield my time. Thank you. At this moment, I'd like to bring up representatives from the Nashville Community Review Board, Executive Director Joe Fitcher, and Chair of the committee. Thank you.
Thank you all for being here this afternoon. Since January 26, 2023, when the bill to abolish the Community Oversight Board passed on first consideration by the Tennessee State Senate, and just hours before the release of the video of Tyree Nichols, the brutal beating of Tyree Nichols by police officers, which led to his murder, the COB has had an extremely challenging past 18 months. Speaking with many Davidson County citizens about navigating what everyday life will look like and feel like from this point forward. Because most of us voted in 2018 for Amendment 1, establishing the COB, where we were met with fierce opposition from the state legislature and initially with very little support from our local government. We witnessed the undoing of the will of the people. As we recall, we were not the only agency under attack last year. The state's effort to reduce our local government of council members from 40 to half that, to take control of Metro Nashville's airport authority and sports authority through state appointments, all of which were challenged in court by the Department of Law of Metro government, leaving many of us to question, why wasn't the COB vigorously defended by our law department, just as the other entities were in Metro? The law that preempted Metro Nashville Community Oversight, restricting us, limiting us from continuing a robust community police oversight committee. One committee that ushered in a more fair, just, and transparent way of public safety that had been long overdue. The bill signed by the governor set back police and community relations decades, particularly what Nashvillians put in place in 2018, when over 134,000 voters, Democrats and Republicans, and others in between, went to the polls and made their voices heard, even leading to the Chief of Police, John Drake, publicly pledging to work with the COB. But now, we have found ourselves on the other side of that promise, stalling to meet with the CRB in good faith, as they take much of their direction from the legal department in Metro. As a result, Metro Legal has failed to admit there is an inherent conflict, as they are charged to give legal representation to the police department and the Community Review Board, which is a Metro entity. Recently, walking back on a promise that they would seriously consider the Community Review Board recommending another attorney of our choosing to provide a legal opinion as it pertains to the unjust law that abolishes community oversight boards. And not to mention, Nashville was the only community oversight board in the state. The other entities in Knoxville and Memphis were already civilian review committees. As recent as May 22nd of this year, a complaint was referred to the CRB from a Nashville retired police officer that made allegations that two high-ranking MNPD officials worked with state legislators to craft a bill that gutted the COB and essentially took the voices of Nashville citizens away, stripping us of our voice and our vote. The complaint, now being investigated by special counsel, which was recommended by the Metro Law Department. The Law Department's refusal to file litigation on behalf of the Metro Nashville Community Oversight Board, especially in light of these new allegations, is very, very troubling. We believe outside counsel should be appointed by the legal department under the direction of Mayor Freddie O'Connell because of the inherent conflict of the law department, who we believe cannot impartially provide the CRB with an unbiased opinion because of its legal representation of MNPD, as the law department defends and protects MNPD vigorously and actively in all manners. The Community Oversight Board, now the Community Review Board, was birthed following the shooting deaths of two Nashvillians, Jacquees Clemens and Daniel Hambrick, and many other mostly black citizens, by police. And no one will ever forget the horrific death of George Floyd in 2020. A scene etched in our minds, in the minds of millions of people across the world. Robust oversight is needed in Nashville. Since the inception of the COB, we have created close to 24 policy recommendations that have been implemented by the Metropolitan Nashville Police Department and received and addressed hundreds of complaints from concerned citizens that believe they have experienced and witnessed matters of police misconduct. We have done the work. This board is charged to raise matters of concern for all Nashville citizens as it pertains to police misconduct, even the police themselves. Our commitment to equitable public safety supersedes race, religion, color, creed, and even professional status. We must have a robust public safety agenda that will help provide transparency, accountability, and build trust in law enforcement in our city and county, even for those who work on the other side of the thin blue line. With that said, we have committed ourselves to this work, and we need the continued support of the Nashville community and our mayoral administration as it pertains to legal protections that have allegedly been threatened by those within our own metropolitan government.
My Lord.
We need outside counsel of our choosing that is legally granted by our law department to ensure the work of the COB is done as it was initially proposed by the people of Nashville, Davidson County. Thank you. We will now have remarks from the CRB Executive Director, Jill Fitcher.
Yes. Thank you all for being here today. I'm very blessed and thankful for the many community members and leaders of this city to be here. I'm going to start with saying we have a police crisis in this city. We have a public safety crisis in this city. The past year and a half has been the hardest year since the creation of this board. Today is a sad day for our citizens. We are here to address the many concerns and issues that have been expressed. I share in the outrage that the IMF, the NAACP, and NAN, as well as my board chairperson Alicia Haddock, have shared, and what Community Oversight Now will share as well. These concerns demand action and should invoke a sense of urgency in our city's leadership to stand with us to develop a robust public safety plan that begins within our police department. As many know, a complaint was filed by a retired lieutenant that laid out a 61-page indictment of alleged police misconduct by members of our police department's executive staff. A few days later, another police department employee who is currently employed came forward and shared information with me and asked that this information be given to the investigators as a formal complaint against members of the executive staff of the Metro Nashville Police Department. The complaint alleges rampant nepotism, discrimination, intimidation, harassment, and retaliation, just to name a few things. Police department employees are afraid to come forward with any complaints for fear of retaliation. Employees are discouraged to file formal complaints and are left feeling despondent, discouraged, and defeated, and not protected. To further assist employees that want to file complaints, the Community Review Board has set up a secured hotline for police department employees. That number, I want to give that number to them if they're listening. It's 615-880-1877. You can leave a number or a voicemail. I will contact you directly for more information. Additionally, the Lamplighter Project has reached out to offer their assistance with any officers who may feel that they need support from an outside entity. They can reach out to the Lamplighter Project via website at director@thelamplighterproject.org. I've spoken to the director who is willing to assist. And my hope is that any employee who feels intimidated, harassed, or retaliated against for filing a complaint, that you would reach out to our office for assistance. The Community Review Board has spoken to members of our City Council to assist in the creation of legislation to protect whistleblowers in our departments. We must change this culture within the Nashville Police Department, and our department will work alongside city leadership in drafting an anti-retaliation policy that will support employees of the police department and fit closely with any whistleblower legislation that is created. I want to say something off script here, and that is we have worked really hard with this police department. It was very disappointing to learn that there was within our police department people who sat at the table with us and negotiated with us in good faith, who looked in my face and called me on the phone and talked about how well we were doing and how they wanted to do this work together. And it was all lies, alleged lies. Some were rewarded for that work with the legislation.
Yeah.
And you can't tell me that the Metro Law Department did not have any information or knowledge of this. It is disappointing. It is a slap in the face of the citizens, and every single person who has lost a life, been arrested erroneously, every single complaint that comes to us has been investigated as well, and they have every day, even now, we have over 50 complaints. that they will not release body-worn camera footage and reports to us to complete the work of the Community Review Board. That is written into the law.
That's right.
That is written into the law. They still stand with, we can't give you that. It's confidential. We have addressed that on multiple occasions with city leadership as well as Metro Law, and they continue to stand behind whatever it is that they said in that complaint, where they're going to not work with us, to render us less effective, even after they have worked to dismantle the CRB.
That is right.
It's a shame, it's shameful, and I'm embarrassed by it. I'll end with a quote from Frank Serpico. He is a detective. He said, "The fight for justice against corruption is never easy. It never has been, it never will be. It exacts a toll on ourselves, our families, our friends, and especially our children. In the end, I believe, as in my case, the price we pay is well worth holding on to our dignity."
Yes.
Thank you. I'm now going to turn this over to Community Oversight now, Dr. Sekou.
Greetings. My name is Dr. Sekou Franklin. I'm with Community Oversight Now. You're hearing from a few of our members. We're the coalition that came together in 2017. We worked 18 months to get the Community Oversight Board, and it was a very grueling process. And I want to thank you for being here. And we actually met here six years ago. I know who was in the room at the time: Pastor Tucker, I think Pastor Marlboro, I think Pastor Cummins. It was 6 years ago when the Daniel Hamlet videotape was released, and we got work to do. Before I move forward, I just want to acknowledge any elected officials that are here. I believe Council Lady Joy Kimbrough's in the back. I'm not sure if any other council members are here. If you are, then I want to acknowledge you. And I do want to just make a little small footnote and acknowledge those persons in the community who are working around gun violence, particularly with young people. I think another person was shot in this neighborhood last night. So our vision of community safety means dealing with the policing, but also dealing with restorative interventions and violence interruption. We want to make sure we hold those groups. I see LT, I see Clement Greenlee, Sheila Clemens, as well, Miles Obermurder, who are working on this in this space. So I want to make sure we acknowledge you. The Community Oversight Now stands with the National Community Review Board, formerly the COB, and other community advocates in calling attention to these allegations of police misconduct. As has been widely reported, a retired MAPD lieutenant released a 61-page whistleblower report. In the report, there were a number of allegations, including manipulating evidence in OPA, manipulating reports of the Office of Professional Accountability, which is internal affairs, rank bias, was not reported by the news, but also sexual harassment, racism,
Yes.
systemic racism, misconduct by Don Aaron, the Director of Police and Department of Media Relations Office, and MAPD's outright refusal to implement Mayor John Cooper's policing project recommendations, and also the outright refusal to implement a new use of force policies. And for those people who are in the television news media, I think we have news tip. I'm going to tell you the real deal. Probably by 4:30 today, your bosses will get a phone call or an email from Don Aaron to try to reframe and repurpose the story.
Yes.
Now that conversation that's going to take place, you'll never know that it took place.
Come on, Sekou.
That's the way the game works in Nashville.
Right.
Right? I can only say it that way. There's always a meeting before the meeting.
Right.
The question is if you can understand what happens. And Don Aaron will try to reframe this story. The complaint, if true, and MNPD has not refuted the complaint, at least not the meaningful aspects of it, exposes a crisis in MNPD that threatens community safety. It reveals an animal house culture that is promoted and protected by not just low-ranking officers or junior officers rather, but MNPD's most senior high-ranking officers. For heavily policed communities, many of them black, brown, and low wealth, the whistleblower complaints reveal why they and we are the regular targets of heavy-handed policing and excessive force, and why we oftentimes on the other end of rigged investigations of police misconduct.
Right.
The most troubling allegation in the complaint is that high-ranking MNPD officers More specifically, I'm going to name them in the complaint: Deputy Chief Chris Gilder, Assistant Chief Mike Hager, with the possible knowledge of Chief John Drake, right? That they work with state lawmakers, far-right state lawmakers, to overturn the Community Oversight Board that has its roots in the blood of black folks.
Come on.
Right.
Yes, sir.
Come on.
Casey Holmes, Joe Johnson, and that these senior ranking officers work with state lawmakers at the height of the Tennessee 3 exposure crisis to overturn and suppress the votes of voters, black folks. Right? And our city did nothing to it. Now that's an allegation that's not been refuted. And Jill, myself, others were down at the State and Local Government Committee when they were in the Senate, when they were deliberating that. Votes were flipped on the Senate Government Committee based upon a lie, and the lie that they promoted was that the CRB or COB had contaminated crime scene evidence. Promoted by the Tennessee Bureau of Investigation director, that he later retracted once the COB was on its way to passage. The bill was not only adopted based upon a lie, but is also adopted possibly with the help of MAPD's highest ranking officials.
That's right.
And one official, Chief Gilder, is alleged to have received a quote-unquote, a small laser engraved crystal style award, a trophy, in front of the entire division of the Office of Official Accountability for suppressing the vote and going against democratic governance. Now, our city officials may feel not a big deal. How about this? What if the finance director went up and worked with the most far right-wing lawmakers to undermine the sports authority?
Right.
What if the finance director worked with the most extremist lawmakers to undermine the Music City Convention?
Right. Right.
Or the airport authority?
So,
Right. What if the MDHA director worked with the most far right-wing lawmakers to undermine East Bay development?
come on.
Right? What if MTA worked with the most far right-wing lawmakers to undermine Mayor Freddie O'Connell's transit?
Talk, sir.
But nothing. No council members have said anything. Where are you, Minority Caucus?
Yes, yes.
Why is everybody mute? Voter suppression, Tennessee 3, authoritarianism, corruption, and nothing. Where are you? Do we matter? Do we matter?
Yes, sir.
Do we matter? They can't ride your back if your back is bent. Stand up.
Yes.
Stand up. So to summarize, the complaint states that MAPD betrayed the public's trust and undermined the will of the voters.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
If true, this is a frontal attack on democracy. Fight for your freedom. Every inch of it. So oversight now has a series of recommendations. We understand that the mayor has hired Edward Stanton, the U.S. Attorney of the Western District. It's unclear if he has subpoena power, right? It's unclear if council even supports it because they've been mute. Nothing. We know what that's about. Further, we know Metro Legal, Metro Law Department, Wally Dease's division, we're going to put a name on it,
Yeah.
was involved in the selection of investigator, even though the law department for years before Dease's tenure, right, has been an obstacle to police reform. So we have recommendations or demands. Number one, the mayor must call for an investigation of MAPD abuses by the Department of Justice Civil Rights Division. The mayor can pick up the phone and call the special litigation section right now and ask for the DOJ to come in. Where are you, Mayor Freddie O'Connell? Do we matter? You're DJing,
I ain't here.
spinning music.
I ain't here.
We talk about our freedom, folks. Chief Chris Gilder, Assistant Chief Mike Hager, and Don Aaron must be placed on administrative leave until the Stanton investigation is complete.
Immediately.
If the allegations are true, and they are allegations, and supported by preponderance of evidence, then they must resign from MAPD. And this includes Don Aaron. For those people in the news media who will call your bosses by the end of the day to write a reframe and repurpose this story. All officers involved shootings during Kathy Morante's tenure as OPA director, which goes back to 2015, I believe, must be reopened and subject to internal investigation.
Yes.
Number 4, the National Community Review Board must be allowed to hire the Brazil Clark Law Firm as legal counsel.
Yes. Yes.
NMPD and Metro Legal are well represented. There's a conflict of interest. There was an early agreement, at least a verbal agreement, that Brazil Clark could represent the CRB. We know now that Metro Legal is backtracking, right? But we need outside counsel for that. We need an external review or investigation of Metro Legal's role in hindering investigations of police misconduct and oversight. It's still unclear, was Metro Legal knowledgeable or allegedly knowledgeable of the work of the most high-ranking senior officers to undermine the Community Oversight Board? And we need establishment of a strong MOU organized in good faith between the CRB and MMPD. Currently, there are nearly 50 police misconduct complaints that are being held up because a new MOU has not been signed. Addressing these concerns is critically important. And I want to just say for folks that we're a year away from the Tennessee 3 crisis and expulsion. God bless those folks who were up there fighting. Right? Those folks working on gun reform. But I want to put it where it goes to be.
Yes.
About 11,000 people showed up to vote in the state races of the 2 black lawmakers when they were elected. And we had a national attention on that, as we should. 134,000 people voted in Nashville, and our city leadership did nothing. Did nothing. Right. And we need folks to stand up and say something. So the whistleblower allegations indicate that the current state of MMPD senior leadership is a threat to community safety and really hostile to democratic governance. We need answers immediately. And what I'll say in conclusion is this work is very hard, very taxing, but at the same time, we in this audience, in this room, are very blessed. It's not a burden, it's a blessing.
Amen.
And we thank God for it. Because why? Because we at least have a chance to give voice. That's right. To make Nashville a better place. That's right. And folks, as a closing, you can't ride your back if your back is bent. But if you stand up, we got a chance.
Yes. Yeah. My name is Sheila Clemens Lee. I am the mother of Jacquees Clemens. And I am his voice.
Yes.
And I'm also Daniel Hambrick's voice. See, I got a personal reason for being here.
Yes.
Because MMPD took both of these young men's lives.
That's right.
And they should be here right today.
That's right.
I'm calling on Mayor O'Connell because you supported the COB.
Yeah.
You waited to the 12th hour to sign that petition to pass the COB. So you need to do what you need to do and what the citizens is calling you to do. I'm calling on the Black Caucuses.
Yes.
Where are you?
Yes.
Where are you? Where are the pastors? I ain't talking about the ones that's here. I'm talking about the other pastors.
Come on.
This fight is not just for my child.
That's right.
It's
That's
not
right.
just for
That's
Vicky
right.
Hambrick's child.
Yeah.
It is for all of our children. It's time for those that's up there that holding them offices
Come on.
to quit being silent
Come on.
because you live a comfortable lifestyle.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because that's why you're silent.
Yeah.
You don't want to lose what you got.
Yeah.
But let it hit your door.
Yeah.
You want all of us
Yeah.
backing you.
That's it. Come on.
It's time to quit being silent. It's time to stop letting them do us and treat us any kind of way.
Martin Luther King, I'm sure he was scared, but he stood his ground.
Yes.
I'm sure Rosa Parks was scared, but she sat down.
Yeah.
I'm sure Harriet Tubman
Scared.
was scared,
Yeah.
but she still did the Underground Railroad to free the slaves. We are free people. We can't let them enslave us. I'm asking you to take a stand. You all were outraged when the ex-mayor, it came out that misuse of taxpayers' money. Well, what about the rights of our voting?
Yes.
Why not get outraged about that? Again, I am Sheila Clemens Lee. I am the voice of Jacquees Clemens and Daniel Hammer.
Good afternoon. My name is Theda Murphy. I am with Abolition Works Tennessee and Community Oversight Now. And we're talking about freedom. So I'm here to make the abolitionist argument about why we need to rethink public safety in Nashville today. For decades, Black people complained about how MMPD targeted us and terrorized our communities. But we were ignored. So we collected data and proved through hard numbers that racism is real. We were called morally disingenuous, and the report was ignored. MMPD cannot be reformed. The community got together and created a mechanism to provide oversight of MMPD, which was resisted by MMPD with the full support of Metro government. But the community prevailed and changed the city charter with an overwhelming mandate from the voters of Davidson County. The state came back and eventually nullified that vote. And now we are finding that MMPD was complicit in undermining the democratic process. MMPD cannot be reformed. 39 and counting of MMPD's own employees risked everything to come forward and report horrendous sexual harassment, abuse, and assault. Shout out to Silent No Longer.
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
And their stories were minimized and ignored. And once again, we find ourselves facing more allegations of corruption and criminality. These reports are coming from the inside. MMPD cannot be reformed. Once again, we find ourselves as a community demanding that something be done. Once again, we are being met with silence and stonewalling from Metro government. So when will this end? Nothing less than a major overhaul of MMPD is required. I have listed only a few of the reforms that have been tried in the past and which have resulted in nothing. I'm tired of asking for reform. It obviously will not work for a system which is doing extremely well exactly what it was designed to do.
Right.
Everyone knows what the definition of insanity is. Why are we acting like we are insane? I fully support the remedies and actions demanded by my colleagues, neighbors, and friends today, but they are only a first step. We can replace policing with solutions that actually do keep us safe. We can have mental health that isn't based in the jail and doesn't require us to get arrested to have access to it. We can have schools that are fully funded every year, not just when we raise hell about it. We can have housing for everyone so that people are not living on the streets or at the mercy of greedy landlords or constantly fighting off aggressive developers who want to take their homes. These are the solutions that really make our communities safe. So no matter what we do, MEPD remains the same slave patrol that it was when it was started. It has never deviated from its violent and tyrannical beginnings because it was established to maintain systems of oppression. That is what it continues to do. That's what it will always do. That is what it is. And it will always be that. MMBD cannot be reformed. It can only be abolished.
At this time, I would like to thank all of our speakers who participated today, and again reiterate our gratitude to the members of the press that are present. If you have any questions for the representatives of the CRB that are here today, we'll ask that you ask those now.
Yes, previously I was under the understanding that the CRB did have a contract with Brazil Clark, so what happened? Like, is it still?
Yes, we have a contract with Brazil Clark for our MOU negotiations. And so that is one specific area. What we're asking for is a long-standing contract because of the inherent conflict with Metro Legal representing MNPD. We also would like for Brazil Clark to supply us with a legal opinion as it pertains to the unjust law that the state passed last year.
You mentioned a number that officers can call if they have something they want to report. Do they fear for their jobs, or is there confidentiality that they can be assured of?
Yeah, we created that line through, they could call the number. I created that line through AT&T, and when they dial that number, which is 615-880-1877, it rings to my personal cell phone, and they can leave a message there. So I think it's secure.
What ongoing conversations have you had with the mayor's office of Metro Police? Where do things stand right now?
Well, the ongoing conversation that we've had with the Metro Law Department has been totally in opposition of an inherent conflict. So they don't want to admit, because they represent MNPD vigorously, that they cannot represent the CRB. And so as we have continued these conversations with Law Director Dietz, we are asking for the community support as we clearly see a conflict if you are representing two departments and one of them is opposed to the oversight of it.
As things stand right now, what danger would you say members of the community are at?
This is a public safety crisis. I mean, this is not just about one set of people or one community. This is about the public safety of Nashvillians. It is about our voting rights. It is about people who voted for this COB and it was stripped away and allegedly with the help of someone within Metro government. So if that is the case, none of us are safe.
No, recently I asked Metro Legal to give us the contract where they agreed to understand what the protocols and process is, so that we understand as a community what the speculations are, what they're going to do specifically, and what they're going to do with the findings. What concerns me and what was brought up with the second person that came forward was that he believes that evidence will disappear if it goes through the Metro Legal Department or the Police Department. And so my ask to Metro Legal will be that we set up some parameters where the evidence, whatever comes in, comes to our office and we securely get it to the investigator. So that would be the chain of command for evidence, because they don't have any confidence that information that they provide would not lead to more retaliation, harassment, and intimidation. And I wanted to say, to Kelly's point, as it pertains to the MOU, the conflict that is inherent with Metro Legal also had a memo, a litigation memo prepared. They had that created from an outside attorney. So now that they don't want to recognize that there's a conflict, although there was a conflict when they got the memo,
That's right.
when they requested a memo and paid for it. And so it's the same conflict that they're aware of. It still exists today, and we want Brazil and Clark to represent us in that process.
Have you guys had a chance to talk with Stanton yet about where the investigation stands and where things are going to go going forward?
No, but I was planning on putting a call into him and actually taking the information that I received from the second complainant so that I can deliver it directly to him. So setting up that appointment with him.
Is the second complainant just piling on similar allegations? Are they different allegations? Are they more damning than the initial 61-page report?
I think that they're similar to the other ones, he included a lot of evidence to support those allegations, and they stem back from like the year 2020 up into present.
Is it a second complaint from the same person, or is it a different?
It's a different person.
It's a different
It's an
person.
employee that's currently employed.
And may I ask when this came in?
It came in, initially it came in a few days after the original complaint came out, and then we set up a time to discuss it, and then receive the information that I need to give to the investigator. Other questions?
Thank you.
Thank you all for being here.
We're all set.
All right, thank you.
Wonderful job, wonderful job.
Thank you.